Elena Vasquez walked through the grand halls of the Galactic Council building. Her footsteps echoed against the crystal walls that stretched high above her head. Alien beings from dozens of different worlds moved around her, some walking on legs, others floating, and a few sliding along the smooth floor. She had been Earth's ambassador for 3 years now, but the sight still amazed her. The human woman kept her face calm and friendly as she passed a group of tall, blue-skinned Zethkar warriors. Their red eyes followed her movements, but they said nothing. Elena had learned to read their expressions over the years. They saw her as harmless, just another primitive human trying to understand the complex galaxy around her. She entered the main council chamber, where representatives from 47 different species sat in a massive circle. Each had their own special chair or platform designed for their unique body type. Elena found her spot in the outer ring where the newer and less important members sat. Earth had only joined the Galactic Council 3 years ago, so humans were still considered newcomers. Council leader Vex High, a creature that looked like a giant mantis made of silver metal, called the meeting to order. His voice came through the translation device that all members wore. We will now discuss the mining assignments for the Outer Rim territories. Elena listened as the council members talked about which species would be sent to mine dangerous asteroid fields and unstable planets. As always, humans were given the most risky jobs. They were assigned to mine on worlds where the ground could collapse at any moment, or in space where solar storms happened often. Other species got the safe, profitable assignments on stable worlds. Ambassador Vasquez, Vexahai's mechanical voice called out, "Does Earth accept the mining contract for the Kepler 442 system?" Elena stood up and bowed slightly, the way she had practiced many times. "Yes, Council Leader. Humanity is honored to serve the galaxy in any way we can. We are grateful for the opportunity to contribute to galactic prosperity." Several council members made sounds that Elena knew meant they were pleased. The Zethkar representative, General Thokran, spoke next. "The humans continue to prove their value. They work hard and do not complain about difficult conditions." Elena smiled and nodded. "We are still learning so much from our galactic neighbors. Earth is grateful for the technology and knowledge you have shared with us." This was partly true. The Council had given humans some technology, but Elena knew it was old and outdated. The ships they provided were decades behind what the Council species used for themselves. The weapons were basic energy blasters that could barely damage modern armor. The medical equipment worked but was slow and inefficient compared to what the advanced species had. But Elena never complained. She always acted grateful and impressed by whatever scraps the Council threw to humanity. She played the part of a species that was happy just to be included in galactic civilization. After the meeting ended, Elena walked to her private office in the human section of the Council building. It was much smaller than the offices given to more important species. She sat at her simple desk and activated her communication device. The call was encrypted using technology that the Council thought humans were too primitive to understand. "Report," said a voice on the other end. Elena recognized it as Admiral Chen, head of Earth's real military command. "The Kepler 442 assignment has been confirmed," Elena said quietly. "They want us to set up mining operations in the asteroid field there. Solar storm activity is high and the gravitational fields are unstable." "Perfect," Chen replied. "That gives us an excuse to deploy heavy equipment and establish a permanent base." "How many personnel are they expecting?" "About 5,000 miners and support staff," Elena said. "The usual number for a dangerous operation they expect to lose people on." Admiral Chen was quiet for a moment. 5,000 visible personnel, but we can hide 10 times that number in the equipment shipments. The Council never inspects human cargo carefully. They think we are too simple to hide anything dangerous." Elena nodded, even though Chen could not see her. This was how it had been for 3 years. Every mining operation, every dangerous assignment, every frontier outpost was really a military base in disguise. While the Council saw humans as useful workers, Earth was actually building a network of hidden military installations across the galaxy. The mining ships that carried human workers were actually warships with their weapons hidden inside fake cargo containers. The miners themselves were soldiers trained to fight in space and on hostile worlds. The equipment they brought included weapons, shields, and communication systems that were far more advanced than anything the Council had given them. "How are our intelligence operations going?" Elena asked. "Excellent," Chen replied. "Our people have been studying every species in the Council. We know their biology, their technology, their military strategies, and their weaknesses. The Zethkar are strong, but they depend too much on their energy shields. The Tavani crystal beings are tough, but certain sound frequencies can shatter them. The Nexari cyborgs can be hacked if you know the right codes. Elena had been gathering this information for years. Every diplomatic meeting was a chance to learn more about potential enemies. Every trade negotiation let humans study alien technology. Every cultural exchange allowed human scientists to understand how different species thought and fought. The best part was that the Council species trusted humans. They saw Earth as a primitive world full of grateful primitives who were amazed by galactic civilization. They never suspected that humans were actually studying them and preparing for war. What about the weapon development? Elena asked. Ahead of schedule, Chen said with satisfaction. Our scientists have taken apart every piece of alien technology we could get our hands on. We have improved on most of it. The Council thinks they gave us outdated energy weapons, but we have learned how they work and made them much more powerful. Their old mining equipment taught us how to build tools that can crack apart planets if we need to. Elena smiled. The Council had made a huge mistake when they decided to exploit humanity. They thought they were getting cheap labor from a primitive species. Instead, they had given humans access to the entire galaxy and all the knowledge they needed to become dangerous. The biological research is also going well, Chen continued. Every Council species has weaknesses. We have developed weapons that target their specific biology. Viruses that only affect Zethkar, sound weapons that destroy Tavani crystal structures, and electromagnetic pulses that shut down Nexari cybernetics. Good, Elena said. How much longer do we need to maintain the pretense? Not much longer, Chen replied. Our bases are almost ready. We have ships hidden in asteroid fields throughout the galaxy. Our people are in position on hundreds of worlds. When the time comes, we can strike everywhere at once. Elena ended the call and sat back in her chair. Tomorrow she would go back to the Council chamber and play the grateful primitive again. She would bow to species that thought they were superior. She would thank them for assignments that were meant to get humans killed. She would act impressed by technology that human scientists had already improved upon, but not for much longer. Soon the galaxy would learn what humans were really capable of. The Council species had made the mistake of underestimating Earth. They had given humanity 3 years to prepare and spread across the galaxy. They had provided the technology and knowledge that would be used to destroy them. Elena looked out her window at the beautiful towers of the Council city. Soon those towers would be under human control. The species that thought they ruled the galaxy would learn that they had invited their own conquerors to their table. The greatest deception in galactic history was almost complete. General Thokran of the Zethkar military stepped out of his transport ship onto the rocky surface of Kepler 442c. The planet was supposed to be a simple mining world, where humans extracted rare metals from dangerous asteroid fields. But the intelligence reports his soldiers had sent back were disturbing. The humans were building something much bigger than a mining operation. Thokran's red eyes scanned the horizon. He could see the human settlement in the distance, a collection of domes and towers that looked normal enough, but his sensors were picking up energy readings that did not match simple mining equipment. There were also far more humans on the planet than the official reports claimed. General, called his aide, Captain Vectos. The advance team is reporting strange findings in the underground facilities. Thokran activated his communication device. Send me the visual data. Images appeared in his helmet display that made his blood run cold. The underground chambers were not mining tunnels. They were weapons storage facilities and research laboratories. His soldiers had found devices that looked far more advanced than anything humans were supposed to have access to. Get me a direct link to the exploration team, Thokran ordered. A voice crackled through his communicator. This is Sergeant Morkex. General, you need to see this immediately. What have you found? Weapons, sir. But not the primitive explosives we expected. These are antimatter cascade devices. According to our analysis, a single bomb could crack the crust of a small planet. Thokran felt his warrior instincts screaming warnings. Humans were not supposed to understand antimatter technology. The Council had specifically avoided sharing that knowledge with them. Yet here they were, building weapons that could destroy worlds. What else? Thokran demanded. Files, sir. Thousands of them. Detailed reports on every major species in the Council. Military strengths, fleet compositions, homeworld locations, biological weaknesses. The humans have been studying all of us for years. The general's clawed hands tightened into fists. The humans had been playing a game, pretending to be grateful primitives while secretly preparing for war. Every mining assignment, every dangerous mission, every act of humble service had been cover for intelligence gathering and military preparation. "Sir," Sergeant Morkex continued, "there is something else. We found communication logs. The humans have been in contact with hidden facilities across the galaxy. This is not just one planet, General. They have bases everywhere." Thokran immediately opened a channel to the council building. Within minutes, an emergency session was called. Representatives from all major species transported to the council chamber with unprecedented speed. Word had already begun to spread that the humans were not what they appeared to be. Elena Vasquez entered the council chamber knowing that her masquerade was over. She could see the fear and anger in the faces around her. General Thokran stood at the center of the chamber, his blue skin darker than usual with rage. Council leader Vexhi's mechanical voice rang out harsh and sharp. "Ambassador Vasquez, explain the weapons facility discovered on Kepler 442c. Elena looked around the chamber calmly. No more bowing, no more grateful smiles, no more pretending to be impressed by their scraps of outdated technology. "What would you like to know?" she asked simply. The chamber erupted in angry voices from dozens of species. Elena waited for them to quiet down before speaking again. "You want to know about the weapons?" Elena said, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber. "Yes, we built them." "You want to know about the intelligence files?" "Yes, we have been studying all of you." "You want to know about the hidden bases?" "Yes, they exist on hundreds of worlds across the galaxy." General Thokran stepped forward, his warrior pride wounded by the deception. "You have violated every treaty of peaceful cooperation. You have lied to the Council for 3 years." Elena laughed, a sound that seemed wrong in the usually dignified chamber. "We lied. You gave us the most dangerous assignments hoping we would die. You provided us with technology you knew was outdated and useless. You treated us like expendable labor. Did you think we would not notice?" The Tavani representative, a being made of living crystal, spoke in chiming tones. "We welcomed Earth into galactic civilization. We shared our knowledge and technology." "You shared scraps," Elena replied coldly. "Outdated ships, primitive weapons, basic medical equipment. You gave us just enough to keep us useful, but not enough to become independent. You wanted grateful slaves, not equal partners." Council leader Vexhi raised his metallic arms for silence. "Regardless of your complaints, humanity has violated every principle of galactic law. You have built weapons of mass destruction without authorization. You have established military bases without permission. You have conducted espionage against member species." Elena nodded. "Yes, we have done all of those things. Would you like to know why?" She did not wait for an answer. "Earth detected your communications 40 years before you made first contact with us. Our radio telescopes heard your ships talking to each other. We learned your languages. We studied your technology. Most importantly, we learned your true nature." The chamber fell silent. Elena continued, her voice growing colder. "We know about the 17 species you exterminated because their homeworlds had valuable resources. We know about the biological experiments you conducted on primitive species. We know about the planned genocide programs that were stopped only when the target species proved useful as slave labor." General Thokran stepped back as if struck. "Those files are classified at the highest levels. How could you possibly know about them?" Elena finished. "Because for 3 years, every human you allowed near your technology, your databases, your cultural centers, and your government buildings has been a trained intelligence operative. Every grateful primitive you thought was amazed by your generosity was actually downloading your secrets." Elena reached into her diplomat's robes and pulled out a small device. It looked harmless, like the basic communicators humans were allowed to carry. But when she activated it, every screen in the chamber lit up with images that made the council representatives gasp in horror. The images showed Zethkar death camps where primitive species were worked to death mining rare metals. Videos of Tavani crystal beings using sonic weapons to shatter the bones of helpless creatures. Records of Nexari cyborgs conducting surgical experiments on living subjects from dozens of different worlds. "This is what the Galactic Council really is," Elena said, as the horrible images continued to display. "Not a peaceful alliance of advanced civilizations, but a collection of predators who consume primitive species for resources and entertainment." The chamber erupted again, but this time the voices were defensive rather than angry. Species representatives tried to explain that the images were taken out of context, that the extinct species had been dangerous, that the experiments were necessary for galactic security. Elena let them talk until they exhausted themselves. Then she raised her hand for silence. Humanity was intended to be your next victim, she said. You plan to use us up completely, then move on to the next primitive world you could find. But you made one crucial mistake. What mistake? Council Leader Vexhai demanded. Elena smiled, and for the first time there was no warmth in the expression at all. You assumed we were actually primitive. She pressed another button on her device. This time, instead of images, a message appeared on every screen in the chamber. Protocol 7 is now active. Elena looked around the chamber one last time. You have 6 hours to prepare your defenses. I suggest you use the time wisely. As she walked toward the exit, General Thokran called after her. 6 hours until what? Elena paused at the chamber doors. Until you learn what happens when you threaten a species that evolved by fighting each other for 10,000 years on a world that tries to kill everything that lives on it. The doors closed behind her with a sound, like the ceiling of a tomb. Across the galaxy, hidden human bases received Elena's signal at exactly the same moment. On mining worlds, exploration outposts, and frontier settlements, humans who had been pretending to be simple workers suddenly became something else entirely. Commander Sarah Martinez stood on the bridge of what everyone believed was a mining ship called the Earth Digger. For 3 years, her crew had pretended to extract metals from asteroids while Zethkar patrol ships watched them from a distance. The aliens thought they were keeping an eye on harmless human laborers. They were wrong. Signal received, reported her communications officer. Protocol 7 is active. Martinez smiled as her bridge crew moved to their real positions. Hidden panels slid away to reveal advanced tactical displays. Fake cargo containers throughout the ship split open to expose weapons that could punch through the heaviest alien armor. Drop the disguise, Martinez ordered. All hands to battle stations. The mining ship transformed. External panels shifted and folded to reveal sleek armor plating. Hidden weapon ports opened along the hull. The ship's engines, which had been running at a fraction of their real power, suddenly roared to life. On his patrol ship nearby, Zethkar Captain Veltoth watched in shock as the harmless human vessel revealed its true nature. His screen showed weapon signatures that should not exist on a primitive mining ship. Impossible, he muttered. Those are military-grade plasma cannons. His communication officer looked up with confusion. Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the human ship. Put it through. Commander Martinez's face appeared on Veltoth's screen. She was wearing a military uniform instead of the simple work clothes he was used to seeing humans wear. Captain Veltoth, she said pleasantly, thank you for watching over us for the past 3 years. We appreciate you keeping our secret safe. What secret? Veltoth demanded. You are simple miners. Martinez laughed. Simple miners do not build antimatter torpedoes in their spare time. Surrender now and you will be treated according to galactic law. Resist and find out why humans are classified as a Death World species. Veltoth had never heard that term before. Death World species were creatures that evolved on planets so dangerous that survival required extreme aggression and adaptation. Such species were considered too dangerous to contact peacefully. You lie, Veltoth said. Earth is a garden world. We have seen the reports. Earth is a planet where the weather can kill you. The animals hunt in organized packs. The plants are poisonous. The bacteria causes deadly diseases, and the radiation from space constantly tries to give you cancer, Martinez replied. Humans evolved by fighting everything that wanted to kill us, including each other. We got very good at it. Veltoth tried to activate his weapons, but his ship's system suddenly went dead. Every screen showed the same message. Human virus detected, systems offline. How? He gasped. Every piece of technology you let humans touch for 3 years, Martinez explained. Every computer we repaired, every system we maintained, every device we improved for you. We left little gifts in all of them. Across the galaxy, the same scene played out on thousands of ships. Alien vessels that had been patrolling human operations suddenly found their computers infected with viruses that had been waiting years to activate. Weapon systems shut down. Communication arrays went silent. Navigation computers displayed false information. But the computer attacks were just the beginning. On the planet Nexar Prime, the cybernetic Nexari discovered that their greatest strength had become their greatest weakness. The artificial brain implants that connected them to their global network were being turned against them by human hackers who had spent years studying their technology. Nexari citizens began receiving false memories and fake emotions through their implants. Some believed they were under attack by alien invaders that did not exist. Others thought their own government had betrayed them. The carefully ordered Nexari society collapsed into chaos as millions of people could no longer trust their own thoughts. High Counselor Zex Ara tried desperately to shut down the global network, but the human virus had already spread too far. Every attempt to regain control only made the situation worse. On the crystalline worlds of the Tavani, a different kind of attack began. Human ships that had been disguised as exploration vessels revealed massive sonic projection arrays. The weapons produced precisely tuned sound waves that resonated with Tavani crystal bodies at their natural breaking frequency. The Tavani had always been proud of their beautiful crystal cities that rang like bells in the wind. Now those same cities became death traps as human sonic weapons turned them into clouds of deadly crystal dust. Tavani Commander Shilak tried to coordinate his people's defense, but every time he spoke, the sonic attacks intensified. The humans had learned to track Tavani communications by their unique crystal resonance. Speaking to his troops was helping the enemy target them. The Zethkar, the Council's primary military force, mounted the strongest resistance. Their warriors were experienced and their ships were powerful. But they quickly discovered that humans fought very differently than any enemy they had faced. Before General Thokran personally led a fleet of 50 warships to attack what appeared to be a small human outpost in the Vega system. His force should have been more than enough to crush any human resistance. The battle began normally, with both sides exchanging energy weapon fire. But as the fight continued, Thokran realized something was wrong. The human ships were not trying to destroy his vessels. They were targeting his crews. Invisible gases leaked through the Zethkar ship hulls. Sounds that Zethkar ears could not detect caused their inner ears to malfunction, destroying their sense of balance. Electromagnetic pulses designed specifically for Zethkar biology disrupted their nervous systems without damaging their ships. They are not trying to win battles, Thokran realized with growing horror. They are trying to kill us personally. His communication officer was already dead, killed by a virus that targeted Zethkar immune systems. His navigator was unconscious, overcome by gases that were harmless to humans, but deadly to blue-skinned aliens. Across his fleet, Zethkar warriors were dying while their ships remained mostly undamaged. The humans wanted the ships intact. They just wanted the crews gone. As reports flooded in from across the galaxy, the true scope of the human plan became clear. This was not a rebellion or a war of independence. This was an extermination campaign that had been planned for years. Every human settlement had been a military base. Every mining operation had been a weapons factory. Every exploration mission had been a scouting expedition. Every cultural exchange had been espionage. For 3 years, humanity had been preparing to destroy the Galactic Council completely. On the Council homeworld, emergency meetings were called as reports of human attacks came from hundreds of systems. But the meetings could not be properly organized because the communication networks were compromised. Ships sent to carry messages were destroyed by human vessels that seemed to know exactly where they were going. The Council's mighty galactic civilization, which had dominated space for thousands of years, was falling apart in a matter of hours. The humans were not just attacking military targets. They were systematically destroying everything that held galactic society together. Transport ships carrying food between worlds were captured or destroyed. The complex trade networks that supplied different planets with essential resources were shattered. Communication relays that allowed instant messages across the galaxy went silent one by one. Within 12 hours of Protocol 7 activation, the Galactic Council controlled only their home systems. Everything else was either under human control or cut off from contact. The species that had considered humans to be useful primitives were now fighting for their survival against an enemy that seemed to know everything about them and fear nothing. In her secure command center, Admiral Chen watched the tactical displays with satisfaction. The plan was working perfectly. 3 years of careful preparation were paying off as human forces achieved victory after victory across the galaxy. Status report, she requested. 70% of enemy communications down, reported her intelligence officer. 60% of their military vessels disabled or destroyed. Enemy coordination is breaking down completely. Chen nodded. The hardest part was over. Now came the truly ruthless phase of the plan. Begin Phase 2, she ordered. Target their civilian infrastructure. Cut off their food supplies, power grids, and transportation networks. Show them what total war really means. The humans were about to teach the galaxy a lesson it would never forget. The galaxy learned to fear humans in ways that would have seemed impossible just days before. Reports came back from battlefields that defied everything the Council species thought they knew about warfare and biology. On the ice world of Terminus VII, a squad of Zethkar elite warriors cornered what they thought was a single wounded human soldier. The human had been shot multiple times and was bleeding heavily. By all logic, he should have been near death. Instead, the human killed all 12 Zethkar warriors using nothing but a broken piece of metal and his bare hands. The security footage showed something that chilled every alien who saw it. The human moved with impossible speed and precision despite his injuries. When the Zethkar tried to use their energy weapons, he seemed to predict where they would aim and moved before they fired. When they tried to surround him, he used their own tactics against them with deadly effectiveness. Most disturbing was the human's face during the fight. He was not angry or afraid. He was smiling. Similar reports came from across the galaxy. Humans fighting on worlds where the atmosphere was poison to them, somehow surviving in conditions that should have killed them within minutes. Human soldiers continuing to fight with wounds that would have instantly disabled any other species. Humans showing up in places where no life should be possible, emerging from radiation storms or toxic clouds as if they were comfortable environments. Dr. HFY, the Council's leading expert on alien biology, studied the reports with growing disbelief. According to his analysis, humans should not be able to survive half the things they were documented doing. It is impossible, he told the emergency council session. No species can fight effectively after losing 30% of their blood. No creature can function normally in radiation levels that would kill a Zethkar in minutes. No being can survive in the vacuum of space for more than a few seconds. Yet humans are doing all of these things. Council leader HFY replied grimly. Explain how. Dr. HFY displayed his research on the chamber's main screen. I have been studying the classified files about Earth that were sealed when humanity joined the Council. The planet is far more dangerous than we were told. The screen showed images of Earth that made the assembled aliens gasp in shock. Massive storms that could flatten cities, earthquakes that split the ground apart, volcanoes that poisoned the air for thousands of miles, ocean creatures large enough to swallow small ships whole, land predators that hunted in coordinated packs using complex strategies. Earth is not a garden world, Dr. HFY explained. It is one of the most hostile planets ever discovered that still supports complex life. Everything on that world is trying to kill everything else, including the plants, animals, bacteria, weather, and geological activity. How did life evolve under such conditions? Asked the Tavani representative. By becoming more dangerous than everything else, Dr. HFY replied. Humans did not evolve to be peaceful. They evolved to be perfect killers. Their entire biology is designed for warfare and survival in impossible conditions. He displayed detailed scans of human anatomy. Look at their muscle structure. They can exert force levels that would tear apart our bodies. Their bone density is 3 times higher than ours. Their nervous systems can function normally under stress that would cause other species to collapse. The display changed to show human brain scans. Most disturbing is their mental structure. Humans do not experience fear the same way we do. What would paralyze us with terror actually makes them more focused and effective. They have a psychological condition they call battle rage that allows them to ignore pain and exhaustion while fighting. General Thakran, one of the few surviving Zethkar commanders, spoke from his hospital bed via video link. Doctor, I have fought many different species in my career. I have never encountered anything like humans in battle. They do not retreat when they should. They do not surrender when defeat is certain. They seem to become more dangerous the more hopeless their situation becomes. Dr. HFY nodded grimly. That is exactly what their evolution would produce. On Earth, retreat means death because there is nowhere safe to run to. Surrender means death because nothing shows mercy. The only way to survive is to fight until either you win or your enemy is completely destroyed. The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. They had not recruited a useful primitive species. They had invited a race of perfect predators to spread across the galaxy. But the worst revelations were still to come. Intelligence. Reports began arriving about human weapons that seemed to violate the laws of physics. Humans were deploying devices that could alter local gravity, making enemy ships tear themselves apart. They had weapons that created temporary black holes to consume enemy installations. Most terrifying were the biological weapons that seemed designed specifically for each alien species. On Nexar Prime, the remaining Nexari discovered that the humans had released microscopic machines into their water supply. The machines were designed to interface with Nexari cybernetic implants and slowly reprogram them. Nexari citizens began to forget their own identities and memories, while gaining false information that made them loyal to humanity. The Tavani faced an even more insidious attack. Humans had introduced organic compounds into the soil of Tavani worlds. The compounds were harmless to most life forms, but they slowly poisoned Tavani crystal biology. Tavani who came into contact with contaminated areas found their crystal bodies beginning to decay from within. For the Zethkar, the humans had developed atmospheric viruses that specifically targeted their respiratory systems. The viruses were designed to lie dormant until activated by remote signal, then become deadly within hours. Entire Zethkar colonies died without ever seeing their attackers. They have been planning this for decades, Dr. Kexhai reported to the Emergency Council. Every biological sample they collected, every cultural exchange, every medical scan they conducted was part of their research. They studied us like laboratory animals to learn exactly how to kill us. But perhaps the most terrifying aspect was not the weapons or the tactics. It was the humans themselves. Captain Veltoth, now a prisoner of war on his own ship, watched his human captors with fascination and horror. They moved through his vessel like they owned it, operating Zethkar technology better than his own crew had. They spoke his language perfectly and seemed to understand Zethkar military doctrine better than he did. "How do you know so much about us?" he asked Commander Martinez. She looked at him with what might have been pity. "We studied you for 3 years. Every conversation, every shared meal, every cultural demonstration was a learning opportunity. You taught us everything we needed to know to defeat you." "But why?" Veltoth demanded. "We offered you friendship, technology, membership in our civilization." Martinez sat down across from him, her expression serious. "You offered us slavery disguised as friendship. You gave us outdated technology while keeping the good equipment for yourselves. You assigned us to dangerous jobs hoping we would die. You planned to use us up and throw us away like you did to 17 other species." Veltoth felt cold dread settling in his chest. "How do you know about the extinct species?" "We know about all of them," Martinez replied. "The Kethmori, who were worked to death mining radioactive materials. The Feltar, who were hunted for sport by Zethkar nobles. The Yilneth, whose children were taken for biological experiments. We have detailed records of every atrocity the Council committed." "Those were different times," Veltoth protested weakly. "The Council has evolved beyond such practices." Martinez smiled, and the expression was colder than the vacuum of space. "No, you have not. You just became more careful about hiding it. But Earth remembers everything. We remember every species you destroyed. We remember every world you stripped bare. We remember every civilization you erased from history." She stood up and walked to the viewport, looking out at the stars. "The galaxy is about to learn what happens when you threaten a species that never forgets and never forgives." Veltoth suddenly understood the true scope of what was happening. This was not just a war between humans and the Council. This was humanity delivering justice for crimes committed across thousands of years against dozens of extinct species. The humans were not fighting for themselves alone. They were fighting for every primitive species that had been enslaved or destroyed by the Galactic Council. They were the galaxy's revenge made manifest, and they would not stop until every debt was paid in full. Outside the viewport, more human ships appeared, their hulls marked with symbols Veltoth had never seen before. Martinez noticed his confusion. "Those are the names of extinct species," she explained. "Every human ship carries the memory of civilizations your Council destroyed. We fight not just as humans, but as the chosen representatives of every voice you silenced." The weight of that revelation settled on Veltoth like a crushing load. Humanity was not just seeking revenge for themselves. They had appointed themselves as the executors of justice for an entire galaxy's worth of victims, and they were very, very good at their job. 6 months after Protocol 7 began, the Great Council chamber looked very different. The crystal walls were cracked and scorched from battle. Many of the elegant alien seats were empty, their former occupants either dead or imprisoned. The remaining council members sat in restraints designed by human engineers. Admiral Elena Vasquez walked into the chamber wearing the full military uniform of the Terran Strategic Command. Her diplomatic robes were gone forever, replaced by the practical gray and black of humanity's military forces. Behind her marched a squad of human soldiers whose very presence made the surviving aliens shrink back in fear. The tables had turned completely. Where once Elena had sat in the outer ring as a humble petitioner, now she stood at the center of the chamber as judge and jury over the species that had once considered themselves her superiors. Council leader Vex High, his once proud metallic frame now dented and tarnished, looked up at her with what might have been resignation. "What are your terms for surrender?" Elena did not answer immediately. She activated a holographic display that filled the chamber with images and documents. The evidence of Galactic Council crimes stretched back thousands of years. Entire species worked to death in mining operations. Primitive worlds stripped of their resources while their populations were enslaved or exterminated. Biological experiments conducted on sentient beings for the entertainment of bored council scientists. "There will be no terms," Elena said finally. "This is not a negotiation. This is a trial." The surviving Zethkar representative, General Thokran, struggled against his restraints. "You have no legal authority to conduct trials. Earth is not a member of any galactic court system." Elena smiled coldly. "Earth recognizes only one legal authority now. The authority of the victims your council destroyed. We speak for the 17 extinct species, the 43 enslaved civilizations, and the countless billions of beings who died to feed your empire." She gestured to her soldiers, who began placing additional displays around the chamber. Each screen showed detailed records of council atrocities. The evidence was overwhelming and undeniable. "The charges against the Galactic Council," Elena continued, "are genocide, enslavement, biological warfare against civilian populations, forced labor resulting in mass death, cultural destruction, and conspiracy to commit the extinction of sentient species." Dr. Kexhai, the Council's former biology expert, looked at the evidence with growing despair. "These files were classified at the highest levels. How did you obtain them? Your security was designed to keep out civilized species who respect laws and boundaries." Elena replied, "Humans respect neither. For 3 years, our intelligence operatives copied every document, recorded every conversation, and documented every crime your people tried to hide. The evidence was presented methodically, species by species, world by world. Each extinct civilization was remembered by name. Each destroyed culture was honored with a detailed account of what had been lost." The scale of the Council's crimes became clear as Elena worked through thousands of years of systematic extermination. The Tavani representative, her crystal body now clouded and cracking from human biological weapons, spoke in a chiming voice weakened by pain. "What you have done to us is no different than what we did to others. You have become the very thing you claimed to oppose." Elena paused in her presentation and turned to face the alien directly. "The difference is that we remember our victims. Every species we have targeted was guilty of genocide. Every world we have attacked was built on the bones of extinct civilizations. We are not conquerors seeking resources or territory. We are executioners delivering justice." She activated another display that showed the current state of the galaxy. Human ships patrolled every major system. Automated defense platforms surrounded the homeworlds of former Council species. The complex trade networks that had connected thousands of worlds were now under human control. "The age of predatory expansion is over," Elena announced. "No species will ever again be enslaved to feed another's empire. No primitive world will be stripped of its resources for the benefit of more advanced aliens. No civilization will be destroyed simply because they possess something others want." General Thokran looked around the chamber with growing understanding. "You intend to rule the entire galaxy." "We intend to protect it," Elena corrected. "From species like yours." She walked to the center of the chamber and activated a final display. This one showed the new order that humanity was establishing across the galaxy. Former Council species were restricted to their homeworlds and closely monitored. Their military capabilities were permanently limited to basic self-defense. Their technology was regulated to prevent the development of weapons capable of planetary destruction. Each of your species will be given a choice, Elena explained. Accept human protection and live peaceful lives on your homeworlds, or resist and face complete extinction. The chamber fell silent except for the quiet humming of human equipment. The surviving council members processed the reality of their situation. They had gone from being the galaxy's rulers to being its prisoners in the span of 6 months. Council leader Vexhai finally spoke. And if we accept your protection, what kind of life would we have? Elena's expression softened slightly. Better than the life you gave the species you enslaved. You will retain your cultures, your technologies for peaceful purposes, and your freedom to live as you choose on your own worlds. You will not, however, ever again have the power to threaten others. Dr. Kexhai looked up from his restraints with scientific curiosity, overriding his fear. How do you plan to maintain control over thousands of worlds with a single species? Elena smiled and gestured to the viewing ports. Outside, the space around the council world was filled with human ships, but also with something else. Massive automated stations hung in the darkness like metal stars. We do not plan to rule through occupation, she explained. Those stations manufacture and deploy automated defense systems. They respond only to human commands and are programmed to prevent aggressive military buildup by any species. If any world begins developing weapons of mass destruction or building invasion fleets, the stations will intervene. The implications were staggering. Humanity had not just won a war, they had created a permanent system to prevent future wars. The galaxy would be kept peaceful by force, with humans as its eternal guardians. What about your own species? Asked the Nexari representative, his cybernetic implant still malfunctioning from human viruses. Who will protect the galaxy from human aggression? Elena was quiet for a long moment. That is a fair question. The answer is that Earth learned from studying your mistakes. Power corrupts, especially when it goes unchecked for too long. That is why human control of the galaxy will not be permanent. She activated one final display that showed construction projects on hundreds of worlds. Massive facilities were being built that dwarfed even the manufacturing stations. We are building something that has never existed before, Elena explained. A truly democratic galactic government with representatives from every sentient species, including those you tried to exterminate. When the new government is ready, humans will transfer control to it and step back to serve as protectors rather than rulers. The chamber erupted in confused voices. Former council members could not understand why a species with absolute power would voluntarily give it up. Elena waited for quiet before continuing. Humans learned something important by studying your history. Absolute power over others eventually destroys the species that wields it. You became monsters because no one could stop you from becoming monsters. We will not make the same mistake. She walked toward the exit, then turned back to address the chamber one final time. The galaxy is safe now. Every species will have the chance to develop according to their own nature, without fear of enslavement or extinction. Primitive worlds will be protected until they are ready to join galactic civilization as equals. Advanced species will be prevented from preying on weaker ones. Elena paused at the chamber doors, and if any species ever again attempts to build an empire on the bones of others, they will learn why humanity is classified as a death world species. We do not forget, we do not forgive, and we are very good at protecting what we consider ours. As she left the chamber, the surviving council members sat in stunned silence. They had tried to exploit what they thought was a primitive species, and instead had awakened something that changed the galaxy forever. Outside the council building, human ships continued their patrols. The automated defense stations monitored every world for signs of aggressive activity. On hundreds of planets, construction projects continued building the framework of a new galactic government based on equality and mutual protection rather than exploitation. The age of galactic empires was over. The age of human protection had begun, and whether the galaxy wanted it or not, it was finally truly safe. Elena Vasquez looked out at the stars from her command ship and smiled. Earth had kept its promise to remember the extinct species and deliver justice for their destruction. Now humanity would keep a new promise, to ensure that such atrocities never happened again. The galaxy was under new management, and the new managers had very strong feelings about protecting the innocent.